What's going on, guys? So in today's video, I'm gonna give you my tips to make meal prepping easier. This will keep your food hot 4 to 6 hours, pretty much. Fat loss easier. And this is probably the easiest fat loss tip I can give, and also some things to avoid. This probably won't serve you if you're starving, especially when people start to mix this with nuts and then they create an actual 500 calorie bomb meal when they thought it was a snack. So pretty much the whole point of this video is just to give you guys a few take-home actionable tips on just dieting and meal prep in general, just to make your lives a little bit easier. Going into the new year with a lot of you guys maybe planning New Year's resolutions or just different ways to change your life and develop better habits. So before we get into the actual tips of today's video, I do want to give a shout out to LifeSum. LifeSum I've worked with many times in the past. They are pretty much just an all-round health and wellness app, and they're absolutely killing the space right now. So essentially, a few things I love about this app. It's more than just a calorie tracker. It can help educate you guys on basically what is in your food. It labels foods on a rating scale instead of just the calorie component. So very, very useful just to understand more about what you're putting in your body. So in the premium version, if you guys want to download that, you can get actually 50% off between the 1st and the 10th of Jan if you use my link. Otherwise, thereafter, it's 30% off. So really, really good deal. It's still a great deal, but if you can jump on it earlier, you get the 50%. And essentially on the app itself, the premium version, you can actually look through diets and see which diet's right for you. You can try a whole bunch of them. They've got climatarian, which I didn't even know was a thing, but it just sounds awesome. It's more like environmentally conscious stuff, as well as high protein, vegan, keto, fasting, whatever you want. You can try a lot of different ones. They have hundreds of recipes within the app as well. So cooking never really gets boring. If you're running out of ideas, you have just hundreds at your disposal. And of course, you'll put in your details and whether your goal is fat loss or muscle gain or whatever that is, and it'll give you some numbers that you want to hit in terms of calories and macros. So it's a really good option to basically dip your toes in and see what kind of eating style works better for you. And also you don't have to think, it's all really done for you. And what I like about this is not only will it help you achieve your goals in fat loss, but also it'll make healthy eating just a part of your life because you know what's in food, you understand what things you maybe should eat more of, maybe eat less of, but also it's a slow process. So nobody's perfect. You're not gonna get the perfect physique overnight. That's why these things take time, and it's much better to have a more sustainable, long-term vision of your health and food goals. So really, if you guys wanna learn a little bit more about that, link is in the description there, and you can just have a play around the app. It's just all around really good user interface as well. So highly recommend that. So if you guys wanna try that, it's there. And otherwise, let's jump into the first meal prep hack. So one of the most annoying things about meal prep is you get your meal out of the fridge, it's cold, you're going out for the day and you think, how can I keep this cold? Or I can't heat it up. What's a meal that I can eat cold that tastes nice? And the easiest option is just to throw it away. You actually don't need to. Thermos, meal prep hack number 1 is using a thermos for hot foods instead of drinks is actually so resourceful. Like this will keep your food hot 4 to 6 hours pretty much, and provided it doesn't get below, what's the temperature? 60 degrees Celsius, I think, maybe 140 Fahrenheit, it won't spoil. So for 4 to 6 hours, your meal prep can be kept warm in a thermos and it tastes exactly the same as when you cooked it. So I did this for my whole bulk, probably like 2 years ago. I had this epic bulk and we would eat this one meal, which was sugar and rice. It was just pretty much rice and a bolognese sauce in there. And you put cheese in it, it'd be so good hot, but then cold, it's disgusting. So when we're traveling, we put in this bad boy. And provided you can eat it with a spoon, you can put it in here. So if you're thinking, hang on, like how do I get my chicken breast and vegetables in that? You make it fit, all right? So dice it up nicely, stick it in here, and then you've got hot food in a thermos that will stay hot the whole day. Change the way you think about meal prep. Now, hack number 2 is about fat loss, and this is probably the easiest fat loss tip I can give, and it's just remove trigger foods from your house. So it's much easier to avoid temptation than it is resisting it. So if the food is there and you know it's there, it's gonna be very difficult because you go, oh, do I want that? I might just take a piece of that. So for example, you should not go shopping when you're hungry. You should not buy the foods that make you want to snack and all the junk food. You can eat things in moderation is okay, but if you're the type of person that really struggles with that, don't really buy the stuff. Don't have it visible. It's as simple as making it difficult to access. So have a look at my pantry here. So this is a horrible example of this because I've developed mental restraint from these foods, so I don't go crazy and smash them. But usually, if your snack drawer looks like this and you've got M&Ms, Oreos, Kit Kats and everything, it's gonna be difficult to resist that. And obviously it is. So you're better off not having that. Another thing too, this is so simple and funny, but if you have snacks and maybe you live at home and everyone just buys junk and you don't want to have that, keep it in containers. We are so lazy that if this chocolate here, there's so much chocolate in here, if that's in a Tupperware container, I can't be bothered to get it. Literally, it's the epitome of laziness, but it does work. If you don't believe me, If there's something that's been tempting you and you can see it and the packet's open, you're probably gonna have some. But if that isn't a Tupperware, maybe with a lock on it, a couple chains, the effort to go to get that, you're just not gonna do it. So what you can do is don't tempt yourself by having a lot of, say, trigger foods or junk foods, sugary, whatever it is, around the house all the time. But if that's too hard and they just happen to be there, then try and make them invisible. Try and make them as difficult to access as possible. There's a bit of an example of what you shouldn't do. I'm gonna show you this chocolate drawer by the TV here. This is actually chocolate heaven, and it's right by the TV. So this is what not to do. But like I said, I probably have maybe one of these a day. That could be torture for some people, but for me, it just kind of keeps me half sane. So there's different ways of going about it, but if you couldn't just sit here with that in front of you and not touch it, then don't have this. So fortunately with me, I've been doing this a long time. I've been dieting maybe 10, 11 years on and off. So I've kind of developed the tricks of the trade to eat things in moderation, and I can have one piece of chocolate and not feel like I have to have 10. But I know a lot of people out there, especially when they're beginning diets and they think, oh, this is really hard to stick to, they have one, it makes them feel like they want 10 and they're better off not having any altogether. So you guys can be the judge on which approach would suit you better. But I really recommend, don't go shopping when you're hungry, don't buy food that's not on your meal plan, and if you do have it, lock it in a box. Now the third fat loss hack is don't mindlessly eat healthy snacks. So the thing about healthy foods is often the natural ones are perceived to be healthier. I believe it's called the naturalistic fallacy. If something seems natural, you know it's come from, this is coconut chips, peanuts, it seems natural, therefore probably healthy. This is like where the clean eating thing started, because people would just opt for these foods as healthy snacks. I've never been much of a snack person. To me, that chocolate is more of a snack than anything else. If you need a snack, it's probably a sign that you're not eating enough in your main meals, because if you're constantly feeling peckish, you probably should have bigger meals. It'd just be a little bit easier. But a lot of people will just opt for these things like nuts, coconuts, dates, things that just are easy to grab on the run, when if you really think about it, they can pack a lot of calories and you don't actually realize it. So for example, we'll start small, these dates. 5 little dates here, 100 calories for 5. That's like nothing. 100 calories gone like that. This is a banana in terms of calories. What would keep you more full? Something a bit sugary that's gonna spike your insulin, make you a little bit more hungry, or equivalent of 100 calories worth of chicken breast. That's the point, is that there are better options. This probably won't serve you if you're starving, especially when people start to mix this with nuts and then they create an actual 500 calorie bomb meal when they thought it was a snack. Next, coconut chips. People can snack on these all day or put them in yogurt or anything like that. This is just a handful of coconut chips, about 350 calories. Coconut has a lot of fat in there, and especially when you dehydrate them and dry them out, you're left with just pretty much the calories. So 350 in a handful. Next thing, this is not a healthy snack at all, this is just used for reference, is a block of chocolate. I mean, if you smashed a block of chocolate, you'd feel pretty terrible. 900 calories in this. All right, that's the frame of reference. Now, a bag of peanuts. Not that you're gonna eat a whole bag ever, but just the sheer number of calories in this, 2,300 calories in this. That is crazy. So you'd have 3 blocks of chocolate, 1 bag of peanuts, right? Insane. So you're never gonna eat a whole bag. If you do, you probably have either a severe love for peanuts or you've got some other issues going on. But people will just have handfuls of the stuff because it's there. Especially if you're just working and you've got a bag of nuts on your desk, good luck adhering to your calories, because you're literally gonna eat a whole meal and you're just thinking it's a snack. Most people don't even know this. So this is why when I ask a lot of people how their diet's going, what they're eating and stuff like that, they'll basically name their main meals. They go, oh man, I can't lose weight, I'm eating this for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And they kind of don't even think about the snacks. And then they go, oh yeah, in between I'll probably just have some handful of nuts or something. I'm like, oh, go back to the bit where you had a handful of nuts and you literally put a meal's worth of calories in a little handful. So be mindful of this, guys. Not to say that these foods are bad and you should never go near any nuts consensually or dates. Just this is what you have to be mindful of, is that these things can have a lot of calories in there, and just because they're healthy or perceivably healthy and have vitamins and stuff like that, nutrients, it doesn't mean that they are actually great and consistent with your fat loss goals. And if you do want to have these snacks, just add them into your meal plan and portion them out and actually weigh them, at least so you know. If you weigh them once, the benefit of that is then after a week, 2 weeks, you don't need to weigh them again. You've got a really good idea by eye, but as long as you guys keep that in mind. So even these just being here, I want to eat them now.
I'm creating a new Slouch Tea logo in sauce.
On what?
On this. I'll wipe it up straight away.
I literally just cleaned this up to film this next bit, and is writing slouch in sauce for the burger t-shirt on my set. Oh, you mocking this up?
Yeah.
Ah. So it turns out the citric acid in barbecue sauce is actually really damaging for the bench. So no matter how many times you wipe it, it's stained the bench permanently.
Stained it?
You like staining the bench?
I can't get it off. Literally cannot get that off.
Definitely slouched permanently in the bench now. So now that the bench is completely stained, onto the fourth hack, which is just about meal prep in general. I get this question a lot when people think, what's the best way to go about it? My favorite way to meal prep, I mean, there's a couple ways I see. The first way is just to meal prep everything. You got your meat per meal, veg per meal, carbs per meal, whatever it is. You can do 5 of them at a time. You can do a whole couple of days worth. The benefit of doing all of your meals in one go is that they're just in the fridge. You take them out, you're good to go. You don't have to really question or think or even have to prepare a meal. But the bad thing with that is that I don't really like how vegetables really go after 3 days in the fridge, or I don't like freezing vegetables at all. If you do that, it'll just completely, I think the cell wall just like disintegrates if you freeze it, and then it just goes mushy. So I don't like to do that. I like to actually meal prep all of my meat in one go, and then I add the vegetables on the daily just to keep it fresh, but it depends on your schedule. So pretty much this is what's left over of my recent meal prep, which was just chicken thighs that I air fried. This bad boy's full. I had it for dinner and then I saved a heap of them for the next day. So that's how I do it. And that way in advance, maybe in the morning, you might want to prepare all your meals for the day, or the night before even's fine. But I think doing the batches of meats and then your vegetables as you go is probably the best way of going about it if you want to have a meal that actually tastes fresh every time you have it, and not just like first couple are good and then the last 2 days you're like, ugh. Like back when I was at school, I used to meal prep on Sunday and I'd meal prep like all the way till Friday, and I'd freeze Thursday and Friday. By the time Friday came around, I'm like, what even is this? Is this edible anymore? Like it was just defrosted and just hell, and I didn't even like it. So for me, the effort of just quickly whipping up that meal like the night before or on the day, adding some vegetables, adding your salad, whatever it is, it's so much better just to get that freshness. But if you know that's not really you, and then it's gonna be easier for you to just meal prep all in one, then definitely just do that. But for me, the best way of doing it is keep the protein separate and then add your veg and carbs as you go. Okay, hands up if you know what this is. Just don't answer that could get weird. This whole tip is about the wizardry little contraptions that can make cooking a little bit easier, more fun, and also taste a lot better. So I'm gonna talk about a couple of different ones today. The first one is a sous vide. I should literally be sponsored by these guys by the amount I talk about this. The sous vide is essentially it's a water bath for your meat. It'll keep it at the same temperature, which is quite slow, and it like cooks it low and slow. So for example, with steaks, you'll put a steak in a Ziploc bag or a vac pack, stick this in there, and it'll cook it for either 1 hour or 3 hours, but it won't cook it above medium rare, let's say. So that's what I do. Then you just sear it and you're good to go. You can also do it with chicken. So I've actually done this recently, this with chicken, and then it'll make sure your chicken is poached like perfectly, and it cannot overcook it. Even if you put it in there for like an extra hour, because of the temperature, it can't overcook it. It's pretty much like a giant fish tank heater, and it just sits in the thing and regulates the temperature. It's like that, only instead of fish, you're cooking food. But this is great because you can actually cook, as long as you've got a big enough pot, you can literally put all of your chicken and meat in there, whatever it is, same temperature, and you can cook that all at once. Now, the benefit of that is obviously it's just super easy. You can't stuff it up, and then all you have to do is just sear it to get that texture. So sous vide, big fan of this one. They're not too expensive too. I think this is about $150 maybe. Another one, obviously a slow cooker. Most houses have these there. There's so many different recipes that you can do in a slow cooker. They just make the food taste way better, and you can just set and forget. So I used to do that on Saturday or Sunday, and I just leave it in there overnight, and then the next day when I want to do my meal prep, I've just got that just delicious food in there. So obviously it works better with fattier cuts of meat, so I can chuck some recipes in here. So I put a bit of butter in there for the flavor, I put onions in there, I put the beef ribs in, I salt them, I add a little bit more onions on top, I add the thick sauce we made earlier, and then I add beef stock. Because the fattier the meat is, the better it's gonna slow cook. But still, I've done this with lean ones, and it works just as well. And again, slow cooking in the oven, and actually just chucking it on a tray and not having to worry about that. But if you just do it in a tray at maybe 130 degrees, I do lamb in there, I've done pork in there, you do it for 12 hours. Then that's the bulk of your meat done. As we were saying earlier with the food prep, you've done all of your protein that's cooked, you can portion that out, you can add your greens as you go. So nice, delicious, and it's also a lifesaver too, because it just saves so much time. You don't have to stand there cooking it, and there's nothing worse than cooking all of your meat and then stuffing it up. And then you've just got like, great, I have 5 days of hell to get through. So guys, that is pretty much it for this video. Very, I feel like easy, just actionable take-home points you guys can do in your meal prep, just to make your diets a little bit easier and more enjoyable as well. Because Now coming to the new year, obviously a lot of people want to change and they want to develop better habits, maybe try new diets, get into a better routine, and you need to make this as easy as possible for you, because if you don't, it's just going to be an uphill battle and it's going to be very difficult. So I feel like these things should make your dieting and just meal prep life a little bit easier. Again, another big shout out to LifeSum for sponsoring this video, and also I want to let you guys know again, if you guys purchase the premium version between the 1st and the 10th of Jan, you'll get 50% off. Otherwise, after that, it's 30% off, which is still a really good deal. So again, shout out to LifeSum, thank you for that, and thank you guys for watching as well. So if you did enjoy this, please like the video, that'd be great. And comment something down below, anything, surprise me. What can you guys comment? If you have one, comment any good meal prep hacks that you guys have, because I'd love to read them as well. But otherwise, that is it for me, guys. And you know what to do. Stay massive.
What? Because it must have acid in there.
Oh, it's got food acid.